In the efforts of pro-gun activists to defend the Second Amendment from those who would take weapons out of the hands of the people, they get overzealous and fabricate certain facts to defend their position. One of those so-called facts is the often repeated claims that commies are coming to take our guns away. This is one, if not the most repeated statement. The automatic linking of gun control to communism. Therefore, anyone who supports gun control with a rational, albeit incorrect argument is portrayed as being a communist. This kind of automatic association between those who support gun control and communism is just dishonest and exposes the ignorance of the pro-gun movement. Here, I will not be defending gun control. Now, I do support civilians owning firearms of all types. After all, Mao said, without a people's army, the people have nothing. I will be defending the slander against China. Revolutionary or communist China did not take people's guns away as pro-gun activists constantly claim. Having heard enough of this slanderous statement against revolutionary China, I've decided to take it on and debunk it. Here are some of the prime examples cited as the so-called proof that supposedly revolutionary China took people's guns away. China established gun control in 1935. From 1948 to 1952, 20 million political dissidents unable to defend themselves were exterminated by their own government. After the communist takeover from 1948 to 1952, 20 million Chinese unable to defend themselves were murdered. These exact claims are repeated over and over again without any source provided for them. In fact, not one of the repetitions of this statement had a single source to back it up. This is literally a claim based on nothing whatsoever. Not only that, but in these statements, anti-communists even contradict themselves. The official lie is that 20 million people supposedly starved to death. Whether or not people had guns would not have made a difference. Guns don't make non-existent food suddenly appear. So what we have here is two different claims for a cause of death for a single group of people who never died. The complete lack of any source whatsoever is very revealing in what pro-gun activists consider academic integrity. However, there is a progenitor to this entire claim that revolutionary China banned gun ownership. The organization Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership created a genocide chart in 2002, listing all the people who were supposedly killed by a lack of guns. On the list is a claim that China, where all the pro-gun blogs are getting their information from. Here is the section where they refer to revolutionary China. Red China, 1949 to 1952. 1957 to 1960 and 1966 to 1976. Political opponents, world population, enemies of the states, 20 to 35 million. The Act of February 20th, 1951, and the Act of October 22nd, 1957. Prison or death to counter-revolutionary criminals and anyone resisting any government program. Death penalty for supply of guns to such criminals. The first thing that stuck out to me was the listing of 3 periods during the Revolutionary Era. I don't know what this is supposed to mean because they don't bother to explain it. I'm going to assume that these are 3 periods in which supposedly persecution against people was carried out that gun freedom could have stopped. Next, we have the ubiquitous 20 to 35 million people killed. Once again, no sources provided for this claim. The claim of famine deaths, or now apparently a lack of gun deaths, I've already dealt with in a previous video. Here now is an interesting difference. The Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership organization has provided a source for a policy that took guns away from people. They listed 2 acts put forth by the Chinese revolutionary government. Act of February 20th, 1951, Act of October 22nd, 1957. Now, I've gone and researched those acts and have found they don't exist. A Google search gives absolutely nothing but various blogs quoting the list put forward by the JPFO. If this act was real and actually existed, there would be mentions of it all over the place, from anti-Chinese groups to anti-communist groups. There are not. Literally, the only mention of these acts is in reference to this list. I took the investigation further and went and checked some websites that deal in Chinese law. I typed in both of these acts and came back with nothing. I went through their archives of acts and statutes and found that those acts did not exist. They were literally fabricated by the Jews for the Preservation of Firearms Ownership organization. This is the dishonest way in which pro-gun activists conduct themselves. There are real points to make in defense of firearms. This is not one of them. Now, while investigating Chinese gun laws, I came across this paper written by Huan at the University of Kansas. This is what she had dug up for her research. After the establishment of the People's Republic of China, there have been 3 special laws or regulations issued on control of firearms, which are the Temporary Measures of Control of Firearms in 1952, Measures of the People's Republic of China for the Control of Firearms in 1981, and Law of the People's Republic of China on Gun Control 1996, hereinafter referred to as the Law on Gun Control. While this paper attempts to bash China for a lack of gun rights, it actually ends up defending revolutionary China on gun rights. Of all 3 of these laws, only one of them actually occurred during the revolutionary period. The other 2 were made law when the restoration of capitalism had begun. The law Temporary Measure of Control of Firearms simply does not exist. I've searched the archives of Chinese laws, and it doesn't appear anywhere. Even placing the phrase into a Google search only returns a single hit: this paper itself. I have attempted to contact Huan at the University of Kansas about her source, but as of a week, she has yet to respond to me. There was literally no law during the revolutionary period that prohibited anyone from having guns. There's absolutely no source for claiming that the party took people's guns away. The claim that Mao or communism took people's guns away in China is completely made up. Jews for the preservation of firearms ownership are liars. Huan is a liar. There is no trace of gun control in the revolutionary period. There is, however, very strict gun control under capitalism in China today. This shows the pathetic lengths that these defenders of gun control sink to. They have to lie about others in order to defend gun ownership. You don't have to lie. There are perfectly good reasons for defending guns, almost all of which I personally support. So what are the facts surrounding revolutionary China and gun ownership? Well, this is what we do know for a fact. The Communist Party, after the Long March, resettled in the countryside where they began work with the peasants and arming them against the government. Mao and the Communist Party armed people against the country. As the Japanese were attacking China, the nationalist, and may I stress also capitalist party, was only interested in suppressing the peasants, not the Japanese invaders. Mao organized the defense against the invading foreign army, while the capitalists were only interested in killing the people of the nation. Eventually, the nationalist party leader, Chiang Kai-shek, realized that the Japanese were destroying the country. The communists gave people guns in order to defend themselves and attack those who were doing harm to them. In the revolutionary era, the people were armed. People carried their guns into work. Some people carried them out into the fields as they did agricultural work. Communist China did not ban people from having guns. They were the ones that gave them out. Capitalist China did ban them. Oh, and unlike certain YouTube video making pastors and pro-gun websites, I have sources in my description.